In our first episode about the full story of New Vegas, we learned that a member of the Chairman, a tribe in New Vegas, named Benny, hired some great khans as mercenaries to intercept and murder the courier. We followed his trail all the way to New Vegas, and in our next episode, we will confront the man. But what happened before he tried to murder the courier? How did he meet the great khans? And Goodsprings is quite a ways away from New Vegas. What was that trip like? Well, we never learn in Fallout New Vegas. However, the developers released a comic book with the collector's edition of Fallout New Vegas called All Roads that details these events. In this comic, we learn more about Great Khan culture, their own tribal morality, and what a few Great Khan mercenaries went through while traveling with Benny on their way to kill the courier. We begin in a pitch-black room. We hear a lighter strike, and a man in a checkered suit lights a cigarette. He leans back in his chair. There is fire in his mind. Will I do it? It's a lot of work, but if I play this game right, the rewards are... I'll do it. Benny sits in a chair inside the Tops Casino, at a window overlooking the decadence of the Strip. My kind of town, he says, as he plays with his engraved cigarette lighter. Meanwhile, far to the northwest, in Red Rock Canyon, a man leans against a stone. He is surrounded by empty bottles and dirty syringes. He spent the evening defacing this stone with slogans and visions that torment his waking mind. He's still, so much so that a fly rests undisturbed on his cheek, and at once we know why. On the ground near his hand are the remnants of the cocktail of drugs he used the night before. His friend Jessup steps forward. Are you gonna come back to us, Chance? This must be your handiwork. I told you before, doesn't do any good to keep digging this stuff up. But Chance does not respond. He lies there, motionless, and Jessup pulls out his gun. Forget Bitter Springs. We're Khans. We've survived for... And abruptly the man's eyes open. The fly buzzes off, and Chance rises to his feet and clutches Jessup's arm. He stares into the man's eyes without a word. Back among the living, says Jessup. Good, because we've got a job to do. Back at the Tops Casino, Benny smokes a cigarette while fixing his tie in a broken mirror. His right-hand man, Swank, sits on a couch beside him. Fixin' to go somewhere, boss? Says Swank. Why, you got a problem, Swank? Only with the cigs on the floor. Leaves a trail you can smell a mile away. A trail? How tribal of you. You know what I mean, Benny. Cigarettes leave a mark. They stink up the place. Mindin' my floor isn't your business. How's the downstairs? We're running out of talent, Benny. Tommy's working on getting some new acts, but he could use some help. Tommy can cry in the rain for all I care, and I did help. That singer all taken care of? Word on the Strip is, took too much psycho, killed himself, said Swank. I brought the vial back, just like you said. Boys weren't happy to hear it. They liked the guy. Well, if he'd kept clean, said Benny, he'd still be singing today. You just wanted him dead, Benny. I could have iced him clean. Would have been the way we handled it back when riding the Mojave. You want to go back to the old ways? There's the door. Go on, see the world outside Vegas in all its glory. Before you do, think of where the chairmen are now. We don't need the old ways to win at this game. Swank didn't rightly know what caused Benny to erupt like that. He sat quietly for a moment, pondering his next words. I'm just saying, a straight kill would have been honest. He was a fink, sure, but he didn't know there was psycho in that vial. The only thing in this vial is Vegas. Back at Red Rock Canyon, the Khans are preparing to move. They gathered together in a circle looking at something on the ground. A man crouches down, making motions with his hands. The Colorado River is here, he says. We see that he's drawing a map in the dirt. Everything east of the river belongs to Caesar. It's Legion territory. Everything west, now that's New California Republic land, or what they can hold on to. So who's paying the caps for this job? Says one of the Great Khan mercenaries. I heard it's raider work, says another. It's some big shot from Vegas, says McMurphy, and it's not raider work. It's work. Long as we're killing NCR, ain't work at all. Bitter Springs. Make sure they never forget it. All for a little payback. A few rangers with bullets in their skulls suits me just fine. You all can forget about NCR and Bitter Springs, says McMurphy. That's not the job. Just then, the men are interrupted. Look alive! It's Chance and Jessup. Having roused Chance from his stupor, Jessup leads the men to the gang. Where you two ladies been, says McMurphy. Better have cleaned up your act, Chance. Don't need you losing it anymore. Without a word, Chance unsheaths his combat knife. He stares at the map as if contemplating a move. He crouches down and begins to draw lines in the map. When he stands back up, we see a much larger map of the Mojave Wasteland. Red Rock to the northwest, where the Great Khans now sit. McCarran in the middle, the base of the NCR. Bitter Springs, far to the northeast, where the Great Khans were massacred by the NCR. Hoover Dam just below, the prize of both the NCR and the Legion. Nelson to the southwest, a former NCR town recently sacked by the Legion. And their destination, Good Springs, far to the southwest, almost due south of Red Rock. We find this crudely drawn map in the dirt in Fallout New Vegas. If we take Nevada 160 south towards Good Springs, just after we pass a road sign, we stumble upon Chance's map. And by the time we find it in the game, it's been days or weeks since it was first drawn, so the details have long since blown away. But the deep grooves that Chance drew with his knife, marking out every major road, are still there. And instead of the scratched place names, the Khans used props to stand in for many of the landmarks of the map. Each item pertains to the location it sets in for. A stealth buoy marks the location of Black Mountain. Cherry bombs for the Nellis Air Force Base, home of the Boomers. A Legion Denarius marks the location of the fort, the headquarters of the Legion, and the stick of dynamite likely represents Powderganger territory. We find one claw from a Death Claw hand right where Quarry Junction would be, and just east of the stealth buoy we find what looks like a broken piece of mirror. This is where we would find Helios 1. A bottle of water stands in for Cottonwood Cove, and we see 3 bullet casings right where Nipton would be. This may tell us that the Legion had already done their lottery at Nipton by the time Chance and the Great Khans drew this map. Ha, says McMurphy. You missed a spot. Chance knew exactly what spot he missed. He lunges at the ground with his knife and begins to twist his blade in the soil. When he's done, he scratches the word Vegas above the giant gaping hole he's just created. The metaphor is not a subtle one. Just as he finishes, the Khans hear a voice from behind them. I'm no critic, but that's not the Vegas I know. Benny approaches from the west, casting his shadow over the men. Chance looks up without a word. McMurphy says, You're late. Fashionably so, says Benny. But Lady Luck, she's always on time. That night, as they sit around a campfire, the Khans get more information about their job from Benny. Why are we hunting for some courier, asks McMurphy. Because that's the job, says Benny. This courier wrong you some way, says Jessup. It's not the courier I want, as much as what they're carrying. Sounds valuable. Only to me. This courier, traveling with a caravan? Any bodyguards? Not a one, says Benny. Draws less attention to the package. So, what, says Jessup? This courier will just give it to us? I'd rather our involvement not be known. Leaving the victim alive makes that difficult. Wait a minute, says Jessup, standing to his feet. I know who you are. Knew as soon as I saw the suit. You got plenty of boys for this job, yet here you are, talking to us. Khans don't kill for Vegas caps. Not like this. Tell him, McMurphy, it ain't the Khan way. Benny turns his back, and after a brief pause says, I never said I wouldn't pull the trigger. That silenced Jessup. That works for me, says McMurphy. Then that's the last of the details? Good. Benny again pulls out his engraved lighter, but this time he has an audience, and one man doesn't see just a lighter, he sees the flames. The flames not of the cigarette burning, but of a town, of tents, of people, and he hears screams. Chance stares at Benny, stares at the fire behind Benny, and sweat beads down his face. Benny notices this and pauses. What the hell is his problem? It's your lighter, says Jessup. Yeah, one of a kind. He like fires? No, it's just that Chance was at Bitter Springs when the NCR hit. Still sees it sometimes. Can't let it go. At this, Benny becomes worried. I've known junkies, he says, finks who can't lay off the poison. Is Chance clean? Mostly. Was hoping this trip might help. He's good in a fight, says McMurphy. Chems are not. Look at him, says Benny. He's sweating. He's coming down. If he loses it, he is your responsibility. Don't you worry about that none. Cons carry our own. The next day, Benny and his Great Khan mercenaries set out at break of dawn. Hours later, they've made great progress, but it's hot, and the midday sun beats down upon their shoulders. Benny seems to know exactly where he's going. He leads the Khans south from Red Rock Canyon. But Chance was not the only Khan to notice Benny's lighter that night. Jessup saw it, and Jessup envied it. Did you see that lighter of his, he says. Could use a lighter like that. Try it, says McMurphy, and Vegas will come down at us with both barrels. Khans have enough to worry about. Vegas already swallowed 3 tribes and spit 'em out into families. Tribes, says Jessup? You're telling me he's a tribal? It's midday, and he's setting the pace. You tell me. They walk for hours, but always Benny is ahead. As they walk, Benny feels the heat of the sun beating upon his back, but he gets small comfort when he feels the shadow of Chance loom above him. Get a little closer, could use the shade. Chance, right? Love the name. Speaks volumes. Your pal Jessup says you haven't spoken since Bitter Springs. Long time. Should let me in on your secret. But Chance says nothing. Remains cold as ice. Suddenly, Chance stops. He sees something on the road before him. Benny turns to take a look. Now there's a picture, he says. Lying on the ground is a corpse. Not an uncommon sight in the Wasteland, but this is a fresh corpse. This person has been burned. His clothing lies in burned tatters all around his body. His blood is burned dark in spots around his corpse, and his flesh has been singed away. Benny and the Khans see a trail of charred corpses leading to a nearby tribal village that's burning in the distance. This body better not be your courier, says McMurphy. What are these, ghouls? No dice, says Benny. Body's burned, limbs intact. Looks like he crawled this far before he died. Someone set him on fire and watched. If it's not the courier, who? Legion? No, says Benny. It's the Fiends. With the Fiends actively attacking a nearby tribal village, Benny and the Khans stop for a moment to go over their options. Fiends are running hard on chems, says McMurphy. Bad news. Probably fueled with jet, psycho hell, bark scorpion venom for all I know. I thought you traded with them, says Benny. Right, says McMurphy, and we could deal with them straight if they weren't chemmed up. But now? Best let them do their thing, says Jessup. If we head back a few miles, circle east. No, says Benny. If we take the long way, we might miss the courier. That happens, you aren't seeing a cap. I didn't bring you along for company. Not saying we shoot it out, but we're moving ahead. Blasted NCR, says Jessup. They're supposed to deal with stuff like this, not us. What, says McMurphy, deal with it like they dealt with Bitter Springs? NCR protection is the last thing we need. No sense in staying here if we're all gonna get killed. And then Jessup stops. He looks up. Where the hell is Chance? He stands on a ledge overlooking the burning tribal town. He sees the fires rising to heaven. The fiends run amok, burning, killing everyone in sight. These tribals could barely defend themselves, their wealth free for the taking. He has seen fires like these before, at Bitter Springs. In a flash, it all comes back to him, and he knows what he has to do. The fiends exult in their triumph until Chance charges into the camp and knifes a fiend in the back. As their friend falls to the ground dead, the fiends turn around and take notice of Chance, but they don't like the gleam in his eye. It's only then that Benny and the Khans know where Chance has gone. There's your friend, says Benny. Oh, crap. This isn't going to end well, says Jessup, as he and McMurphy take out their weapons. For him, says Benny, as he pushes down the gun. Don't draw attention to us. We get away clean. No way, says Jessup. McMurphy, that's Chance down there. But McMurphy turns his back and walks away. "Forget this. If I'm the only con here, I'm dying with him," says Jessup, and he rushes into the town. Meanwhile, Chance is drawing more blood than any of the fiends could have expected. Man, woman, Chance didn't care. With a knife as his only weapon, he crushed the fiends like insects. But he was only one man, and the fiends were a swarm. He could only hold out for so long. And just as he gets rushed from behind, an axe flies through the air and slices off the head of the charging fiend. It's the cons, led by Jessup. They attack, with Benny at the assist. Chance fights alone in the middle of the fray. Ranged weapons aren't his thing. He uses the might in his two arms. He lifts up the fiends and smashes them together. With only a knife and a fist, he tears the fiends limb from limb. Chance, the cons, and Benny group up in the center of the camp. Back to back, they face the swarm of fiends and unleash a torrent of lead. One fiend stabs Chance in the bicep. Another knocks a gun out of Murphy's hand. They have Chance on the ground, but even with his wounded hand, he manages to fight his way back up, killing his would-be murderer. Just then, a fiend stands up with a flamer. He sees Chance killing. He levels his nozzle, and then unleashes an inferno upon Chance. Chance bursts into flames, and the fiends around him too. But that wasn't enough to stop Chance the con. With his hair aflame, he leaps through the inferno and pounces upon the fiend with the flamer. He takes the nozzle of the flamer and bends it back, melting the flesh off of the fiend with the flamer. His body collapses to the ground as fire and smoke rises to the sky. In the aftermath, all the fiends are dead. Chance kneels in the middle of the camp, smoking, his flesh hanging off of his body. "You feel better now?" says Benny. But Chance doesn't respond. He just stares at Benny with his new wounds blotching his face. We find the site of this battle in Fallout New Vegas. If we continue to follow Nevada 160 south of Chance's map, we begin to go uphill and we fight a few cazadors. Just off the road to the left, we find a makeshift Great Khan camp. This is the camp that Benny and the Great Khans made after defeating the fiends at the tribal village. They of course had to recuperate and rest up after the fight. Here we don't find any loot. We see the remains of a campfire and a bedroll. If we continue along the road west, we see a body in the middle of a trail off the road to the northwest. This body is labeled Burned Body, and it's not the only one. As we continue along the trail, we find another burned body, and then another burned body, and then another burned body. And at the end of the trail, we see a campsite in the distance swarming with cazadors. Cazadors are the buzzards of the Fallout universe. They are attracted to rotting flesh. After killing the cazadors, we can continue forward, where we find even more burned bodies. And at last, when we reach the camp, we learn that this is the tribal village. On the ground, we find more burned bodies and fiends. These fiends were in the middle of torching this town and killing all of the people who lived here when Chance and his cons intervened, killing every last one of them. If we loot this burned tribal village, we find an assortment of chems just lying about. The fiends likely got hopped up on chems while they were in the middle of their murderous rampage. The tents have a few items, but they are mostly bare. We do find one armor case, which has some leather armor and a plasma pistol, and in a nearby tent, we find some shelving units with scrap and a first aid box. But that's really all the loot we find in the tribal village. After the battle, the cons strike a makeshift camp and tend to their wounded brother. But Benny is less sympathetic. Chance, his name should be stupid. McMurphy tries to calm him down. It's all in the past now, Benny. We got him under control. Oh, do you? Says Benny. Look, says Jessup, we can get Chance the drugs the fiends had. It'll smooth him out. He'll be jittery, but you're talking about pumping more into him? This is your friend on a good day, and you want to dose him up with Jet, Psycho, or whatever Brahmin crap chem you can, and pray it'll keep him calm? Put him down. It was then that Benny realized this might not have been an appropriate time for such a dark suggestion. Fine, he says. No need to say it. Cons carry their own. But you deal with him. He's your friend. He's family, says Jessup. Forget it, said McMurphy. It's time to focus on the job. That night, Chance slips into another one of his fevered nightmares. He sees himself back at Bitter Springs. The NCR marches on the town. They open fire on the women and children. Chance goes down into the town to try and save them, but he's wounded, his weapon knocked out of his hand. The NCR burn Bitter Springs to the ground. He awakes to see a man in a checkered suit standing over him with a lighter. How you feeling? I forgot you don't talk. You smoke? Not your chem of choice, I take it. You know, I've heard about Bitter Springs. Crying shame. Happened a long time ago, though. Don't get me wrong. I understand how that stuff can eat you up. I do. Let me tell you a story. So, I run this casino, the Tops. Great view. Can see all Vegas from the windows. We had acts coming in from all over the Mojave to perform there. Entertainment. Class acts. But there was this one, this singer. This singer used to run with us back when our gang rode the Mojave. Like you cons. The boys loved him. He'd sing around the campfire songs about us in the old days. Then we walked the road to Vegas, all the lights of the old world still glowing, pretty as you please. Met the man who runs Vegas. He showed me a whole new way to live. Didn't need to play tribal anymore. Thing is, this singer came with us too, and he didn't see Vegas the way I did. Kept singing the old songs from when we were riding the Mojave. Kept talking about how we should hit the road again. So he did, in his own way. Problem was, when he sang My Boys, they started thinking about how things used to be. You could see it, that last little touch of the old ways there, plucking their heartstrings like a piano. Nostalgia is a drug, Chance. You felt it when you decided to kill those fiends. You want to be back there with the cons in Bitter Springs. And this time, you want to make it right. That singer wanted to go back too, and the only way he could was to shoot himself up with all sorts of chems. He could have left it alone, cleaned up, changed his tune, but he didn't want to change. Me? I'm not like that singer. I'm done thinking about how things used to be. This courier's the key. I get the package. I won't walk the Mojave ever again. The Mojave will walk to me. I'll hold Vegas in my hand. Thought you might appreciate this. You're tough, Chance. I hope you keep it together till the job's done, I really do. But I need you to change your tune. If you can't. I'm not saying it's an easy road, and it's hard to walk. But if you feel the need to lose yourself for a while, go on and take it. At last, Chance was alone with just his thoughts. But he was in pain. So much pain. The next morning, Jessup and McMurphy find the body of Chance by the fire. I thought he'd be tougher than that, says Jessup. Took a lot of bullets, a lot more than some. What now? We still going through with this? Of course we are. I'm just saying nothing's worth this, even for all the caps in Vegas. Without Chance, we can get this over with faster anyway. I am sick of riding the Mojave. Well, I guess that's that. It don't feel right, though. Let's find something to dig with. We need to bury him before the cazadors show up. What the hell is this, says Benny. Gotta bury Chance, says Jessup. Oh, no, you won't, says Benny. But a fierce glance from both Jessup and McMurphy tell him that this was not up for negotiation. Bury him then. I'm going on ahead. You catch up when you're done, if you want to get paid. Where's this courier? I want to be done with this. Well, the closest water source is Good Springs, says McMurphy. That tumbleweed town, says Jessup, ain't nothing there. Well, he doesn't think so. We find the grave that Jessup and McMurphy dug a short ways east of the tribal village. Following the trail, we pass by the burned bodies we saw earlier, and then if we face southwest, we find a tiny trail up into the hills. Our Pip-Boy detects a neutral presence just up ahead. As we crest the hill, we see that it was a raven, and it immediately flies off. It was standing on Chance's grave. Jessup and McMurphy didn't have time to erect a stone or carve a memorial. His final resting place is only marked with a simple stick stuck in the ground. If we have a shovel, we can dig up Chance's grave, where we find his Great Khan's simple armor and the weapon he used to eviscerate the fiends, Chance's knife. Chance's knife is a unique combat knife, set apart from all others because it's still covered in blood. This is the very knife Chance used to carve the map in Mojave soil. It's also a pretty decent weapon, certainly one of the best combat knives in the game. It does 7 more damage than a traditional combat knife, coming in at 22 damage, and it's significantly faster, allowing you to do 4.15 attacks per second. This brings the DPS of Chance's knife up to 91.4, almost double the DPS of a traditional combat knife. For melee builds, Chance's knife can be one of the best weapons in the game. With a melee skill of 100, and with a character who has all of the damage and attack speed boosting perks, the DPS of this knife can rival that of Oh Baby, the huge and heavy unique sledgehammer that we found in Charleston Cave. It has a special attack called Backslash. This attack does 70% of its normal damage when used in VATS, but it costs 3 fewer action points, allowing you to get more attacks in. Benny stands on a ledge overlooking a valley, waiting for Jessup and McMurphy to catch up. He hears their heavy footsteps approach from behind. "Hope you saved your strength. Won't be the last grave you dig today." "How much further till Good Springs?" says Jessup. "You're standing in it," says Benny. He led them to a ledge overlooking the Good Springs Cemetery. "Well then where's this courier of yours?" says McMurphy. "Watch the road," says Benny. "Shouldn't be long now." Here the prologue to Fallout New Vegas ends, and the game begins. I was blown away by this comic when I first learned of its existence. I love it when my favorite stories from games cross over into different media. The comic was so well made, the art is amazing, and of course it was beautifully written. And this comic, more than anything else I've read or experienced in this game, has helped me understand the character of Benny a whole lot more. Indeed, the Benny we find in this comic is much more interesting than the Benny we find in the game, probably because we really don't have all that long to spend with Benny in the game. For that reason alone, I'm very grateful that this comic exists. If you liked this comic and you want to add it to your collection, I encourage you to buy a copy for yourself. It's a great way to support the writers, artists, and publishers who made this comic a reality. Check the description below where I link to where you can buy a digital version and a hardcover version on Amazon if you're interested. With that, we finish the story of the Great Khans for now. We will, of course, pick up with their story again as we get farther into the plot of the main story. Papa Khan still has a very important decision to make regarding the future of his tribe. We'll tackle that in an upcoming video. If you want to make sure that you don't miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I publish a new video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the Fallout games. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook to keep up to date with all Oxhorn news. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. And Merry Christmas, everyone. Due to the upcoming festivities, I'm going to need to take a couple of days off. I will, of course, take Sunday off, as I typically do. That's Christmas Eve, but I'm also going to take Christmas Day off on Monday, which means I won't have a video for you on Tuesday. But never fear, I will be back with a brand new video for you on Wednesday, so I look forward to seeing you then. Until Wednesday, I hope each and every one of you has a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas.